So we're talking about Demetrius Polychron. And no, that's not a name made by an AI. Buckle in, guys. This is a wild ride. And I'm very scared, okay? This is my, third or fourth time recording this because each time I get so angry. So I'm trying not to be angry in this video because this is a very angry subject for me. So we're talking about Demetrius Polychron. And no, that's not a name made by an AI. Okay, that's what I thought too. And it looks, to all intents and purposes, that actually looks like his real name. But this guy, if you do not know, has written some fan fiction. And I say fan fiction because he has no rights to this material. He has not been given the rights to this material as far as I'm concerned, because if his statement is true, he received no response from the Tolkien estate. So this guy has no rights to the material. And he's written a fan fiction, a continuation of The Lord of the Rings, and he has published it, but not on a fan fiction website. Oh, no, no, no. He self-published it, and he is making money off of it. Or what little money, because I don't know who would read this unless they were hate reading it. Because he is... I looked it up on Google Books because you can't find it on Amazon anymore. He has been wiped off of there, so... You did something right, Amazon. The ebook on Google Books is being sold for, I don't have my glasses on, is being sold for $17.95. $17.95. I could buy a hardback book for that amount of money, okay? And a better one, like a better book. I'm so sorry, I'm getting angry. I shouldn't be angry. I will say, I salute you for writing. That's a big accomplishment. But sir, you cannot write fan fiction and sell it for a profit without the rights to it. And the Tolkien estate is not going to give you the rights to this, at all. So I did some digging on this guy. I found him on LinkedIn. That was the first thing that came up. From what I gather is this guy he's very probably skilled at science and tech. Great, you know? We're living in a very technological world. But this guy, he recently started his publishing company, which is probably, he is a leader of it, the head honcho. And he's a publisher. He's in, looks like, well, his title is publisher, editor-in-chief, and author. I hope he didn't edit his own books. I hope he had someone else. But if he did have someone else, I don't think it would have been published. And so I found out his publishing house is called Fractal Books, and he's been there for 9 years. So it's an interesting name, Fractal Books. Fractal. Did I look up that word? Fractals are like crystals, like snowflakes, those reoccurring patterns. So publishing, found him on LinkedIn, all well and good. And then I found him on Twitter, guys. I had to search a little bit more because someone made a parody account, which by the way is so funny. Keep that up. Love it. Anyway, but this guy is trying to defend himself, and it's not good. This guy called him out for it on good authority too, because he was like, you wrote Tolkien fanfiction and published it after Rings of Power, then sued the Tolkien estate and Amazon for stealing your idea. And then he's like, you know less than half the story. You'll see when it all comes out, read the book and then we'll talk. After that, I was like, let's see if his book is on Goodreads. Oh boy, it is. Even though it's not on Amazon, which by the way, side note, it's not on Amazon because he's suing Amazon, but also this guy, if I find the screenshot, I'm going to put it up on screen, but he had the audacity to put his name as co-authors with J.R.R. Tolkien on Fellowship of the Ring. I wish I had that level of delusion. I wish I did. But anyway, so I looked up his book on Goodreads, and it's the first book. He hasn't come out with the second one, which by the way, the first book is The War of the Rings, book 1, and the book 1 is called The Fellowship of the King. Hold on. He's writing a second book, and guess what it's called? The Two Trees. I'm telling you, I wish I had this much delusion, honestly. But I looked up his reviews, the reviews that he has on the book. 1-star reviews, 24 of them. No 2-star reviews. No 3-star reviews. No 4-star reviews. But 3 5-star reviews. And none of them have comments. So all the 1-star reviews is couldn't get past the first couple pages. Agreed. Well, I pushed myself to get past the first couple pages so I could have a mindset when making this video. Derivative fanfiction garbage, which should say derivative garbage fanfiction, because honestly, if you write fanfiction, more power to you, man. I wrote fanfiction. I still do sometimes. I don't really put it on any fanfiction website anymore, but I do, write it on my notebook, get some ideas, stuff like that. But this is just too much. And so I wanted to know where these 3-star reviews are coming from. All accounts that have no picture on them and have 0 reviews, and they all give it 5 stars. And the third one is by him. So I don't know if he's making fake accounts to like boost his score on Goodreads, but that's sad. That's so sad. And then I was like, listen, if it's this bad, I've got to read it, because sometimes I love just reading stuff for the heck of it, and I'm not going to pay $17.95 for this book. I could get other books for cheaper that I would love, okay? So luckily we have his writing to critique, and he decides to bless us with some poetry, which, side note, I did take poetry, and I love poetry. It was not my concentration, so I will say that, but I do love it and I appreciate it, and I have, I have some knowledge in it. I do enjoy the occasional poem. I love some Emily Dickinson and John Keats. Gosh, who was that 21st century poet? Not 21st, 20th century poet. I can't remember. He was a drunk, Irish drunk. Love him. Love all the Irish drunks. But anyway, so someone actually made a really good point. There was a review that I read, I can't find it, but they were like, the difference between this guy and Tolkien is, well, there's a bunch of differences, but Tolkien had the comfort and the whimsiness, the whimsy of the British culture to kind of shape his characters and shape his writing, which is so true. But this guy, it's not there. It's very much like a D&D game where you're just like writing down the facts, and there's no like ingenuity to it. There's no like genuine appreciation of like the culture that each species, each race has to this world, or the specific home life of certain people, how they're raised. Like in Tolkien's writings, you can kind of get like, even if it's just a little bit, the vagueness of it, or just a little bit to make your wheels turn in your mind and being like, this is how I picture this guy, or this is how I picture so-and-so, this is how I picture this land. It's much more like a woven tapestry. There's so many good things. This just seems like a beginner's needlepoint where you're like, yeah, this guy, he could become a good writer, but this was not a good start. I'm sorry, dude. He has a prologue, and he goes off in the prologue where he is like just info dumping everything. And when we have a prologue with like Tolkien's prologue where he talks about concerning hobbits and concerning pipeweed, getting a sense of this world, and he's doing it step by step, and he's introducing these settings, and not so much the characters, but what's really like going on, and it's to ease your way in. This guy is just like, let's go in the deep end, and you're like, whoa, this is too much. So it centers around Eleanor, who is Samwise Gamgee's daughter, canonically his daughter. It's just, there's so many names being brought up, and even the prologue, that you're just like, what? I have to sit down for a while and like not look at this book ever again. And then we get into a whole thing. This takes place like 20 years after the Fellowship. After the Return of the King. So Eleanor is the main character, and then we have Theoden, which is Merry's son, and then we have Faramir, which is Pippin's son. And then there's some other characters which I am not familiar with, Fastred. And then they have the introduction of the Blue Wizard, Alatar, which, yes, Alatar, it is a real character. He is sent on behalf of King Elisar, which, yeah, he could probably go by King Elisar, but if Aragorn's giving a letter to Sam, he probably would be addressed by like Aragorn or Strider, because the hobbits still have that friendliness. Like, it's still like a brotherly relationship with Aragorn. So they're very rarely gonna call him King Elisar. I didn't write Tolkien's works, but neither did this guy, so. So it's just, there's a lot of grammatical errors in here. The language is not consistent. Like, there's not a consistent voice with a lot of these characters, not a lot of, and then they decided to really piss me off and bring in my girl, Celeborn. Okay? If you're not familiar with Celeborn, so, Galadriel, fan favorite? Okay, her and her husband, Celeborn, had a daughter, Celeborn. Celeborn married Elrond, so Celeborn is Arwen's mother. So they decided to bastardize her, thank you so much, sir, and basically say that hey, so, by the way, these are true events, though, true events of the story, not in real life, because she would go often between Rivendell and Lorien to visit her parents, and one of the times she's going past the Misty Mountains, and she gets basically jumped by orcs, and they really torture her and all this stuff. It's just really bad situation. She gets ill, but she's saved, but, at what cost, kind of thing. Like, she's really just hurt, and she doesn't fully recover from these pains and this sickness, so they send her off to the west to actually heal in Valinor. Okay, great. This guy is like, yeah, by the way, she actually is the mother of the new creation of Orc Elven, which is a new orc kind, and she is the mother of it because these orcs R-worded her and created a new species. I'm sorry, what? Then this guy goes on to say that that's happening with a bunch of elven maidens. They're being kidnapped and R-worded by these orcs, creating orc elvens. It's so atrocious, guys. And that's where I had to stop. I mean, he tried to add in Tom Bombadil, and don't do that. Don't do that. And he tries to match Tolkien's, like, poetry, his prose, his prose and his poetry. His poetry, and it just doesn't work. And honestly, like, Sam afterwards, he says what I was thinking, that's just a bad imitation of the original verses. Yeah, it is. It's a bad imitation. But anyway, all this to say, there's just so much going on. They try and say there's more elven rings that Sauron created, and, they still have power in them, and there's 13 or whatever it was for the enchanted beings that swim, run, and fly. And that their new big bad is Sauron's mistress, which is like, hold up, I'm sorry, what? But really makes me mad is he's trying to profit off of this. I did some digging and it looks like he's trying to do 7 books. Not sure how that's gonna go after he's having the cojones to sue both the Tolkien estate and Amazon Prime, or Amazon really, not Prime, well, Prime Video. Yeah, it's just a whole mess, guys. But that's really all I could find on this situation. I did some digging. If anybody else has any more information, put it down in the comments. I want to read. I want to be up to date with this because this is so interesting. If I missed anything or if I got anything wrong, please let me know, because I just found what I could for this video, and I'm sure there's more information out there or anything that was cleared up later on. But that's really all I could find. I will put down all the links in my description, and like this video if you liked it, and subscribe, because subscribing is free. Just like how this book should have been, because it shouldn't be for profit. Anyways, so I will see you guys in the next one, where I will probably not be as angry.